All right, here we go. 27-ish minutes.
Ish.
This is Ken and Scott's Postconsumers. I'm Ken.
I'm Scott.
And you're listening to Ken and Scott Postconsumers. Today's topic is peak resources.
However you choose to define resources.
However you want to define that, exactly. Basically, for anybody just catching up, peak resources typically mean the peak level of resources of whatever that is. Like peak oil, for instance. Many people think that we have reached peak oil, meaning we have found all the low-hanging fruit, and the oil that's left is just going to be harder and harder to find. It won't be as much as what we have found so far. We have reached the peak, and now we're on the downturn.
You can think of it like a bell curve.
Exactly.
That's called the classic Hubbert curve, and Hubbert was the name of the gentleman who first theorized peak oil in the 1950s or 60s, I believe it was. And he looked at...
Really, way back then? I didn't know it was that old a theory.
Way back then, yeah.
Okay.
He was looking at the general production curve of individual oil wells, where the classical gusher, you stick the pipe in the ground.
So much oil in there.
And it's just
screaming out. We're rich.
Look, it's a gusher.
Yeehaw!
Stuff is just spraying out all over the place. You don't
Texas
even...
tea. Yippee-hoo.
Yippee-yahoo. We're rolling in the stuff.
Yippee-ki-yay,
and it takes just 1 barrel of oil to get 100 barrels of oil.
Right. And what's that called?
Energy return on energy invested.
Energy return on energy invested.
EROEI.
Right.
EIEI.
And where are we now? Where were we then?
Where are
we going?
Getting back to Hubbard.
Okay.
Think of it like a bell curve.
Yep. Got it.
Production. And it goes up rapidly, real fast, and then when about 50...
For those at home, he's making a gesture where he is pointing up
a bell curve.
and making an upside-down bell curve.
And right at the peak is when about 50% of that oil deposit is gone.
Right.
Then you've got to get pumps, and you've got... pumps would come sooner, actually.
Yeah.
Not all of them are under pressure.
But the point is...
But it takes...
The theoretical amount of oil there is on this planet, we've hit the halfway point.
Yes. And the stuff that's left
is a lot harder to get.
And instead of getting 100 barrels with one, we're more like around... It varies according to deposits. The Saudis are still running at about probably 20.
20 barrels per hole in the ground?
Yeah, per 15. Yeah, maybe.
Wow.
Fracking is about as low as you can get. It's about... Well, they don't really know. They'll know.
Fracking for oil? I thought that was primarily a natural gas thing. For shale oil, like that
shale
sort of thing.
oil.
Okay, yeah, right, gotcha.
Yeah, and it's kind of...
Which still releases gases in it. It makes it a mess, but
We won't know until, looking in the rearview mirror, exactly, and there's varying estimates.
Right.
But it's only 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe, depending on who you talk to.
Wow.
And estimates is that you really cannot run an industrial civilization on anything less than EROEI of about 7.
And we're at what now?
Well,
overall,
I wouldn't want to put a firm number on it, but we're probably right at about 7. And it's not going to go up.
No.
Anymore.
No, not unless we figure out that old pesky cold fusion.
Boy, that was the bane of my existence for a decade, trying to figure that thing out.
You worked on that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
That's what that whole laboratory is.
Oh, okay.
I put together for originally.
Yeah? How far'd you get?
Not far enough. I'm still driving my car and putting gas in it.
Exactly.
Still heating the house with natural gas and... running all my appliances on coal-burning electricity.
Right.
The thing is, even if somebody were to discover cold fusion right now, it probably wouldn't even help all that much.
Why not?
Well, because the trick is infrastructure. I mean, and this goes to the solar and the wind. I mean, wind
Right.
power. I mean, those are not going to save our asses
Right.
in any way, shape,
Right.
form, or fashion.
Well, no, there's no single solution. I mean, everybody should know that, I would think. I mean, wind is not going to do it. Just solar is not going to do it. Just coal is not going to do it anymore either, as just fundamentally the supplies are dwindling. And it's horrible for a multitude of other reasons.
Infrastructure is key.
Yeah,
I mean, if we were to like try to convert our economy to run on nothing but solar and wind generated electricity,
yeah.
we don't have enough resources to rebuild our infrastructure to do that.
Really?
No, there's not enough surplus energy.
Well, we need. I think just having a grid in general is just not working out anymore.
Yeah, just maintaining our infrastructure that we've currently got is getting harder.
Yeah, we waste half our power just having it available at the switch at all time.
Right. We become so used to that.
Yeah, it's just there. We think of it like it's a well, like water. It just sits there waiting. It's not hurting anybody to just burn up a bunch of coal while somebody waits for us to turn on a switch.
Yeah, we feel entitled. It's our right to have electricity on demand, base load requirements.
And that comes back to the article you read today that you found so horribly depressing, and that we can't. We're gonna have to change anyways. I mean, it's going to be forced upon us because these things are just going to break down and fall apart anyways. The article was basically, it's too late. We're all doomed. We should have done something 20 years ago, and there's just no point. Might as well just write off the next generations. What was the quote in there? It's like the first person to die from planetary collapse has already been born. It's like, well, because somebody's dying in a desert somewhere from thirst. It's already happening. I mean, how broadly do you want to define that? But there's still something we can do. There's always something
we can do.
Yeah.
I mean,
education I don't
key.
buy that there's nothing we can do.
Well, we'll do what we do best. We adapt.
Yeah.
To changing circumstances.
That's what humans do.
Yeah.
We always have.
Got us to where we are.
Yeah.
Bunch of apes in suits.
Yeah. I mean, if it's
caught by our own cleverness.
As a species, I can't imagine just losing all our internet is completely gonna make everybody just die.
Well, we're going to have to do some technological triage and power down. We're going to have to decide what technologies we're going to want to hang on to at all costs. And I think the internet has got to be at the top of the list. I really do.
Oh yeah, it'll be there. Here's the thing too. I mean, all these things will wind down for, people like you and me, people even poorer. People middle class. I mean, but there will always be a class on this planet as long as there's a tree left to chop down.
What do you mean, a class?
A class of people. A class, an upper class.
You mean class divisions?
Yeah, economic class that will have access to whatever we have now still, and whatever the next latest and greatest thing is as they'll have their, they'll have their own ways to make new stuff for their own class.
Some things, yes. Other
there will
things,
always be.
It's going to be tough.
It's just going to shift the bar of what's considered a luxury item. I mean,
okay.
A phone will be a luxury item on the level of a Rolls Royce. That's all. All this stuff's still going to be around. There will as long as profit is the motive, somebody will make these people the stuff they can't live without. To communicate amongst themselves, if nothing else.
I'd like to, well...
There'll be the rich person Facebook, because that's the only Facebook that there will be anymore.
They can have fucking
They can have Facebook, yeah. They're welcome to it. But
I want my Twitter, though.
Right.
I want to hang on to my Twitter.
Oh, something else I was thinking of. As part of the Man Project, might as well...
we should talk about that.
Yeah, as far as resources go, another resource is going to be education. I mean, the rich people don't seem to educate themselves very well. I mean, they're running the country, and we get the likes of Bush, George W. Bush as president, because they pay off smart people to take all their tests for him, and even then he went to Yale, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. He barely skated through Yale.
Skull and bones.
He's an idiot. They're all idiots up there because they're all paying poorer, smarter people to take their tests for them nowadays, and it's just educational inbreeding. So my point is that there's got to be a new way to give people some kind of an accreditation that amounts to something among their peers, other than going through a college system that now costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to complete to get any sort of a degree.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that maybe through the man, they could have some sort of just peer-reviewed doctoral, honorary doctorate degree of some variety, where if you're just someone that thinks you know a lot about economics, you submit a paper, and as much, with as much necessary that would get anybody else a doctorate. These peers will look it over. I think to start, they should be actual doctors of whatever it is that is being reviewed. We have to start at least from some sort of solid accreditation.
Uh-huh.
But once that's done, you should be, allowed something. And I'm not saying that this would get you, a medical degree necessarily where you can start practicing. But I'm just saying, at some point, our society is going to have to dole out the education to a lot more people, because the fewer people that have access to it, the less chance that Einstein shows up. The less chance the genius is allowed to thrive. And that has to happen, or the society won't survive. And education becoming so expensive is just not going to allow it to happen ever again. So you listening, rich people, if you guys are going to want to keep the technology, unless you're going to figure it all out amongst yourselves.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. You better start keeping education open in China and Japan and India, where all the smart kids still are.
Well, my head is spinning with possibilities right now with what you just brought up.
Yeah.
This is a really great idea.
Yeah, I mean it's the ultimate resource management. I mean education and fostering of genius.
And teaching the essential
But
lessons.
having an accreditation, that's the big problem. I mean, you're pretty smart with economics. I'm coming along, I think.
Yeah, you are.
But would I even have the equivalent of a bachelor's right now? Probably not. I don't know.
Well, you wouldn't want to
maybe.
learn the economics that they're teaching
I'm just
in
saying,
economics
no,
department. You just mean in
I'm just saying, as far as to put on a piece of paper that my peers have reviewed my stuff and I'm just as good as them at this level. That's all I'm saying. 'Cause that's all an accreditation means, right?
Yeah.
It's amongst your peers, we all agree. Yeah, he's a doctorate. He did that thing with the paper.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
He's read these books. He
Yeah.
wrote these reports.
He went
on the
to a
books.
college,
He came up
spent a
with-
bunch of money, got the piece of paper. We have to remove that part of it, but still get the paper out there to the people that deserve it.
I would love to do that. I would love to be on a faculty roster.
You're the doctorate, right?
No, just a master's.
Just a okay. Well, so what? I don't have a master's. I went as far as a bachelor, and that's it. So I've never done that thesis thing. Although I've written, papers, whatever. But
I'll tell you, I learned so much more
Right.
about my field after I got my
Of
degree.
course,
I learned quite a lot getting
Right.
my master's degree.
right.
Very little of it did I actually use, just because of the volume of the stuff
Right.
that they throw
Right.
at you.
Right.
But, when you actually get out and start working in the field, you're educated, and that's when your education begins.
Oh
right?
well, oh for sure. I mean, even my stint with working in television. I mean, I got my bachelor in telecom, but my experience is anything that's taught me anything useful.
Yeah.
I mean, my first job was working at the public access, where Wayne's World people would come in and make TV shows. But the experience is everything, and that's kind of my point too. I mean, let's say somebody is doing something for a very long time. They've been doing it for 50 years. They know it, whatever it is, and they want to get some kind of credit for that knowledge. They should be able to go through some sort of a process. It doesn't involve $100,000 and then a giant university.
Now is the time to do this.
And now is the time to set this up.
Because
and
we are at peak communication.
We are.
And this is the moment in human history
you're probably
where we
right.
could potentially educate every single goddamn person on the planet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
About all the essential things they
Right.
need to know
Right.
about what's happening and what's
Right.
going to happen
Right.
and why
Right.
and where we're headed and what we need to do. And to teach those essential skills after they have that understanding or alongside
Right.
that understanding.
Right.
To teach the essential skills of localized energy production, localized food production,
Right.
localized governance, and communication and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of doing this through the man.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you, I don't think we've talked
Not too terribly
about
much.
the man.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about
we can
it.
just so that
Mutual
the
Aid
audience know.
Network.
It's called Mutual Aid Network. It was conceptualized by Stephanie Rearick out at the Dane County Time Bank in Dane County, Madison, Wisconsin. And her vision is extraordinary. What it is, it's a hybrid sort of umbrella organization that takes the best of all these new economy initiatives like cooperatives and trade cooperatives and mutual savings, mutual credit, complementary currencies, time banks.
And their goal is
And their goal is
to basically become the World Bank of
To-
time banking.
change the world, to transform all of our economic and financial institutions along cooperative principles that recognize the limits to growth and peak resources. And
Based on services, based on time instead of dollars, more or less, right?
well, the time
part of it.
the time bank is the key sort of glue
Right.
that's going to cement all these
Right.
things together.
But it's basically building a network of people and services to, take the place of services that are slowly going away right now. I mean, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, as our municipal systems fall apart, somebody's going to have to come out and fill a pothole at least once in a while.
Yep.
Or and actually build a road or fix a bridge.
Mhm.
Build a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're still going to want these things, we need an alternative form of system,
Mhm.
and that's what the man is building to be.
Yep. And
So part of it, I don't know if Stephanie's considered the educational aspect of this.
well,
And
what
maybe
what's-
this would be a good presentation of it.
I'm getting really excited about this now because when we put the core principles together, and there's 12 core principles, we took the best of the core principles of time banking and the Rochdale principles. You've heard of the Rochdale principles?
Not exactly.
They're sort of like the historical cooperative principles that
Okay.
date back to the 19th century. The
Okay.
first
I'll have to look these up.
co-op
Okay.
in Rochdale, New York, I think it was.
Okay.
Or maybe it was in England. I'm not even sure where Rochdale was. But it was a bunch of people in like 1850, and they got together and bought a building and sold things at no profit.
Okay.
And they laid down
This how long ago?
about 150 years ago,
Okay.
160 years ago. Yeah,
Okay.
so it was like 1850s, 1840s, I think, actually, maybe.
So un-American.
I'm pretty sure it was American. It's on my phone. I've actually
I'm
got
just
it
saying un-American.
on American. Oops, of course it's like resetting.
Right.
Damn, this
No
is
big
what's...
deal.
Better get used to this. Resetting
Yeah. Yep.
networks. I mean,
Fortunately,
we're not going to
my
have
story.
24/7 on-demand
No.
gadgets
Anything.
running.
24
Just-
on demand. Anything.
We'll be lucky to keep it together just to have it. Well, I don't know. We might. I'm optimistic. I think we can keep the communications network the
Some
way it
degree.
is now, because it's not really material intensive.
Well, there's once again something I gotta look up again is ham radio data transmission.
Oh yeah,
That's available,
Yeah,
right?
I knew a guy that was
Yeah.
really into that.
So that could keep a system puttering along.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's so very low bandwidth.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I can't imagine what the data rates are. I'm
and
not
we've
sure.
got towers all over the place that could act as what do they call it?
Repeaters?
Repeaters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Something I gotta look into.
oh, but to get back to the education thing,
Right. Yes.
one of the core principles.
Someday we'll come back to resources.
Well,
Someday.
this is again how we
Right.
define resources.
That's true.
Education is a
huge
resource. Our minds are resources.
Yes,
our
the
knowledge
ultimate,
base.
yes.
We are at the peak of our knowledge right
Yeah.
now as a species.
Yeah, of acquiring new great knowledge, I would say.
And yeah, we're the tools to gather more knowledge are not going to be going away here soon. So science is going to be peaking too. So, but the education thing, one of the core principles of the Rochdale Principles is was that they allocated 2% of the money that they had surplus earmarked for education.
Oh, okay, right.
2%,
oh, yeah,
mandatory.
Yep, you have mentioned these before. Yep.
And
that's amazing.
in our man core principles, we
Mancore.
we don't spell it out on a percentage basis, and I don't think most cooperatives do anymore.
That's tough
anyway,
to stick
because
to.
it changes.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
gotta. Money is sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. But say it in there at least.
I think next conference call we have on the working board next Wednesday. I'm going to bring that up.
Sure.
I'm going to bring that up
Mind if
to
I hung
the
out?
group. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You can.
Oh, it's Wednesday. Okay, so yeah, we'll do another show.
Wednesday,
Have another talk.
And
That worked.
And then we'll have another call.
Cool.
So yeah, I like that idea, and yeah, I could see a whole university. Then there's other universities that we could probably that are already.
And that's the thing too.
Like Gaia University. Have you ever heard of Gaia University?
No, but I just want to say now.
It's a cyber university.
Right, and that's my fear. I mean, people are kind of doing this already, I guess.
Yeah, sort of an isolated.
But they're still asking for a whole lot of money from it.
Yeah,
they're still charging people a lot of money for degrees that they may or not even need. They're just trying to sell paper.
And this would just be paid for in time
This would be some sort of a non-profit
time dollars.
Yeah, it could be sold in time
we
dollars.
We don't need any money at all.
Yeah,
I could read papers.
If somebody gets it depends how big the board of review is, I suppose. If the board of review is 100 people, then it would cost 100 time dollars to get a doctoral degree. I mean, obviously, it would be countless hours of research and whatever it takes to get a doctoral thesis done. I have no clue. I've never done one myself, but people that I know have had it done it. It takes a long time. Yeah, you got to know what you're doing. And I think if somebody submitted something to a peer review, and it only took a few hours of the peers to read it at a time, 100. Well, let's say 100 peers. I don't know how long does it take to go over somebody's. I don't know. I have no idea. But whatever number that is. It's probably a pretty big number. It would still require a lot of time, work.
I could call my old advisors and professors and ask them how long they took.
Yeah.
There was an oral defense.
Okay, that could be done through technology.
We could do that via Skype call or whatever.
Yeah.
And they grill you on all the fundamental stuff that you supposedly learned.
Right.
And then you have to defend your thesis. And that's a grueling afternoon. And it's after they, read through it.
Are there online doctoral programs?
I don't think
fully, completely online doctoral.
If there are, I doubt they're there.
If there were, I'd say emulate that, and then just throw in the time dollar component. Which is just a tweak, honestly.
I have to retract what I just said. I just said they can't be that good if they're online. There's no reason why they wouldn't be. I don't know why you'd have to.
I don't know. I mean, they do still have a stigma to them, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, just online degrees in general. You mean right now?
No, like PhDs. I mean, I got no problem with bachelors and masters.
Right. Depends on what. It all depends on what it is. If it's something that requires practical experience, then yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd want to work with a medical doctor that did his whole thing online, obviously.
Well, yeah, there were some courses getting my master's degree in environmental engineering. You had to be there physically to do
I mean, there's
lab
labs.
work.
Labs, exactly. You can't
in
fake
science
a lab.
and engineering.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah, I wouldn't hire a chemist to work with volatile chemicals that's only played with cyber vials. It's like, oops, wrong reaction. Boy, that looked messy. Boy, I'll just hit reset. No.
No. You can't control Alt Delete.
Yeah.
Phosgene gas.
Real life, you're pushing buttons and running for a door.
The action does not.
Right.
The arrow of time does not.
Right.
run
Obviously,
backwards.
there's limits to this. I mean, but if someone went to get a doctorate in philosophy, you know, I mean,
Oh, yeah,
that
something
should
like
be
that.
anybody. Sociology,
Literature,
maybe.
sociology.
Maybe I don't know. I don't want to extend my knowledge of what I think it takes to become a certain
What
profession.
sociology.
But I would think a philosopher I could probably get away with. That could be done through some sort of peer review.
Another good reason to hang on to the internet when we do our technological triage.
Right. And I'm not saying these should, you know, I'm not trying to totally replace the higher ed system as it is right now. I'm just saying, as far as I know, we have no way to easily disseminate, you know, accreditation. It's not about knowledge anymore. You can find out anything you want to know about anything.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
When I think about it, sometimes when I was growing up in the
I know.
'60s, you had to
Go to the library. Yeah. You go to
pull
the
a
library.
little wooden drawer out with a Dewey Decimal
I know.
System and
I
the
can't-
card
it's
catalog.
just- I feel so old just talking about it. It's like it took me forever to do a research paper in high school. Now it's like I could have jammed the thing out in one night.
It just blows my mind. I
Yeah.
mean, we have basically the whole entire knowledge base of
The problem-
of our entire species accumulated
Without a doubt,
knowledge
without a
in
doubt.
our hands.
No argument from anybody there, but the problem is accreditation. It's like, okay, how are we going to prove wisdom of all the things that we now have access to? It's like, okay,
You
anybody
can't
can
prove wisdom at all.
Well, with
you
an
might be able to.
accreditation assumes is a piece of paper that says you're wiser than me on something.
Oh, I was.
That's all I mean.
I was actually speaking to knowledge versus wisdom.
Well,
'Cause
knowledge. Well, you could get a bunch of knowledge, you know, just by I know a lot about that, but to prove it,
Oh yeah, demonstrating.
to
that.
demonstrate, I don't know. I'm calling that wisdom, I suppose, but
Okay.
accreditation, whatever you want to, however you want to
Yes.
gauge. All right, you're allowed to be an authority on. Say you're some sort of an authority on that. That's what it all comes down to. I mean, everybody can have an opinion. Everybody can have an educated opinion, but no, you know,
I
until
don't
you get
want
that
somebody
piece of paper.
building a bridge that doesn't
Yeah.
only has opinions.
Not how to build a bridge.
I want him
Yeah.
to know what a Moore's circle is.
Yeah.
A Moore's diagram.
Right. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm not about to build a bridge either. So
You
that
should
all
try
works
it.
out.
It's fun.
Well, if my system can work out, maybe through the man we can figure this out. Because we're gonna need. That's my point too. It's like through the man. It's like, okay, we've got all these geniuses at the start of the system, and what? In 20 years, when some of them are dying off and the schools are all closed because only rich people can afford a degree, quote unquote.
Shit,
you know.
yeah.
So if
You've
if,
got to have these
you
alternative.
have to have an alternative way
system.
of training people through time dollars to get a quote unquote degree in something.
You're gonna have to do that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, there's the bell. I'm checking our time here. We're 28 minutes. All right, close enough. My name's Ken,
I'm Scott.
and you've been listening to Ken and Scott Postconsumers. Have a great day,
Night.
or evening,
Or whatever.
morning,
Bye.
mid-afternoon.
Ciao.